And so I was like, I'm going to go an hour on this beat. And he was like, nah, this podcast is going half an hour. And I was like, come on, son, that's not fair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you talking to me?
Yeah, see, we're kind of trial running this podcast, and what I was thinking is that, like, people kind of like when it just fades in, like, mid-conversation, and I was trying to make it seem like that. Did it work?
Oh. Maybe next time to do that, let's plan it in advance. We'll plan out to make it sound, like, not scripted. That'll be genius. I bet no one's ever done that before.
Yeah, don't worry, I'll totally edit this out. Hey guys, welcome to the third episode of Mad Sounds. I'm
Mad
Mark.
Mad Sounds.
Hey, we're gonna get this taken down if we keep pulling that crap. Okay.
I know. Well, that's Mark, and I'm Jonathan. You're watching or listening to Mad Sounds. The podcast continues to grow and evolve. It's been a little bit since we've been with you, though, hasn't it?
Been a while!
It's been a while. How long has it been?
A while. But probably about a month since I visited you and did the whole real life things, which, I mean, this episode's kind of automatically a step down just cause of that, but whatever.
Well, you didn't have to bring that up, you know. Now everyone's going to be focusing on that. I mean, at least this time, though, maybe the video won't be 240p quality.
Look, man, it was the elephant in the room, and I don't know what's going on with my computer, but for some reason, that was taking, it said it was taking literally 6 hours to upload. Literally. No, I mean literally. I literally mean literally. I don't fool around with that word. I was about to say,
I know Mark is one of those people that is so serious about the word literally. Like, if you use it in the wrong way, like, he's gonna come after you.
I'm gonna pop a cap.
I would love to see that, Mark. I would love to see that. So, other than popping caps and that sort of thing, though, in the past month, I mean, what have you been up to? I mean, where have you been? You've been off the grid.
I wouldn't say so. I've been making videos, but this month has been pretty eventful. Since then, I went to Warped Tour. I saw the Offspring, which I'll get into a short story of in a little while. I got diabetes. And I also happened to do my first collab review of this year so far, which is pretty exciting. Editing that now.
Very nice. Oh, you're editing that right now. Mark couldn't focus his full attention on the podcast today. He's actually busy doing some editing. So if there's more of me than usual, guys, we're very sorry in advance.
I will say nothing on the subject.
Right.
So, going back to that Offspring show.
Yeah, what happened there? You said you got ID'd? Is that what you're saying?
Oh no! I already look 25 with the chin beard. But,
the new metal chin beard.
Yeah, which I've actually I don't have to shave now, but that's a whole different thing. Anyway, so basically, one reason why I really like living here in good old San Diego is that at the Del Mar Fairgrounds, we get this concert series after the actual fair, the actual county fair. Where for $6 essentially, if we get in before the last horse race ends, these like sometimes pretty big bands will just play shows with general admission stuff. And in the past, I've seen Weezer at this.
Oh.
I've seen Cake.
Wow.
And
kidding.
this time around, I saw the Offspring.
Basically, they're pulling in the 90s to play these fair shows.
Well, there's that and a lot of pop reggae in the vein of the album that we covered.
Ah, yes, Sublime with Rome. Did you catch them? Were they there? Did I miss out?
No. But you got Pepper and that whole kind of thing.
Damn, dude, I'm jealous. If you saw Pepper and
no, I didn't actually. No.
Oh.
They're co-headlining Opus.
Ah.
No, but
So
what
happened?
Okay, so I got there really early, just to play it safe, because if you get there late enough, you have to pay another $20, and as a broke college kid, I don't want that.
Of
Even
course
though
not.
even though a $26 Offspring show is still pretty cheap, but anyway.
Right.
So I got in there pretty early on. I was pretty early in the line to get into there, and at first it was awesome because I managed to get not at the front barricade, but like a few feet off from there.
Not bad.
And I was actually against the like the way it was set up is that like there was a crowd on either side and then like an aisle in the middle for like the security guards to be to like catch the crowd surfers and stuff.
Right. Even though
Yeah.
a lot of places are no crowd surfing, people are going to do it anyways.
Yeah. But hey, what can you do? I mean, I've never been a fan of that, so I mean, no complaint from me. But anyway, so first off, a really cool thing happened. Before the actual show, basically the guitar techs and drum techs and all that were testing out the band's instruments, getting the levels and all that, I guess. And the guitar tech started throwing out picks to the crowd.
Oh. So
Yeah. And I'd
somebody's going home.
Yep, I had never caught a pick before.
Really?
Yeah, weird enough given how many shows I've been to, but I mean, I had a couple close calls, and actually at Warped Tour, like I said in my video on that, I caught a pick during While She Sleeps' set, so that was cool.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, but anyway, so the guitar tech was throwing out these picks, and like I said, I was up against like the side barricade, I guess you could call it, and when one of them like fell right. Okay, so there's me, there's the barricade, and then like a couple inches from there was the pick that was thrown. One of them.
Oh. So.
But the thing is that at the angle it was at specifically, I could not get it with my own human self.
So you broke out your selfie stick and used that to bring it to you.
Of course,
Correct.
but seriously, so I was trying for like maybe 2-3 straight minutes, and some people in the crowd were not really making fun of me, more or less like just, kind of like tongue-in-cheek encouraging, and we were all having fun, but eventually, one of the security guards was walking by, and I was like, and I swallowed my pride, and I was like, hey man, can you get this for me? And he's like, sure, and handed it to me.
I thought that was gonna have like an epic like ending or something like that. I thought you were gonna say
Nope.
like someone like from the band came over and handed it to you or something.
Nope, completely anticlimactic.
Ah, man, you had me going there. I don't think I ever told you about the time that I caught the pick from John Foreman from Switchfoot, did I?
Oh, no, you haven't.
No, that was in 2013, November of 2013, whenever I saw them on their initial little Fading West tour. They went out before, they had released the EP, the Fading West EP, before they did the full-length record. And I saw them in a small college show, and I'm not going to lie, I was front and center. There was no security barrier whatsoever. And it wasn't exactly a hard task to do, especially when John Foreman tosses it straight up in the air and it like lands directly in front of him, which is exactly where I was standing. But still, kind of cool nonetheless to get that along with the set list.
Yeah. But that probably wasn't like the most eventful thing to happen there for me personally. I mean, in addition to the Offspring being great, obviously, even though they only did like one song from Days Go By, I was like, oh, that album's so underrated. But
I was about to say we're the only two people, we're the only two music critics on YouTube that probably actually like Days Go By a whole lot.
Yeah, and it was Slim Pickens, Does Right Decision, Rise the Bomb to Hell, which is which is like the song on there that fans actually like.
Well, I mean, I like it too, but of course, I like most of the album, so it's just another one in the batch of good songs to me. But hey.
Yeah. Anyway, so another thing. So what happened is that, like I said, I got this awesome spot seeing the Offspring, and all of a sudden, and I thought I'd taken care of this before, but it was really hot out, and I was drinking a lot of water, and then maybe 3-4 songs into the set, I had to pee.
Oh, so you were in a dilemma there. It sounds like you're in like a good spot, but you don't want to. Do you want to give up that spot to go pee? That's the situation you're
stuck
that
between.
Is a rough spot, man.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. No pun intended. Actually, pun completely intended.
A rock show.
Yeah.
That being the joke.
Yeah. I made a funny. I made a punny.
I know. I felt like I needed to explain it to some of our viewers, though.
Thank you for less inclined. But anyway, I figured, what, I'll hold it. It's probably not gonna get that overwhelming or anything. But then it got into about halfway into the set, maybe 40 minutes in, and I've been holding. And at this point, I was at critical mass in the bladder.
Now you're saying you're doing the dance at this point, essentially.
Yeah, and and not even kidding. I had an empty water bottle in my back pocket, and I was seriously considering it.
Oh, I have been there, buddy. But that's mainly when I've never been in a concert and been like that. I've been driving and I've been like that, but that takes some courage if you're doing that at a concert.
Yeah, and I wasn't willing to risk that.
Yeah, I don't blame you. What if somebody had bumped into you? Like, what if a mosh pit starts up, or like they just that's not going to be good.
Yeah. Now here's where the crap comes in. Again, no pun intended. Actually, that time the pun was not intended in the slightest. So at some point, they played a couple of my favorite songs from them, and I was like, and they started playing one that I wasn't, that wasn't like in my top, 30 of theirs, I guess, and
right.
Because it was kind of greatest hitsy in terms of the set, which makes sense because it was at the fairgrounds, that's sort of semi-festival level,
right?
In terms
your
of
general
audience.
crowd, crowd that you're playing for.
But anyway, so at some point about halfway into the set, I cave in and I go, fine, I'm gonna leave, go to the bathroom, and get a worse spot. So the security guard is right there and catching a crowd surfer every 30 seconds or so, because they're playing stuff off Smash and
Right.
But so I motion the guy over, and I ask him, do you think that I can exit the crowd along that same aisle where you bring the crowd surfers to go to the back? And he says no.
Oh, wow.
And I have no idea why. Because I told him exactly what the situation was, and he was like, no, I can't let you do that. And I was like, why? And I guess it got too loud, or it got to a chorus or something, and he just wasn't able to answer me or something.
Huh.
So I did what any man in my position had to do, and when it got to a softer song, I believe it was Gone Away. It might have been Gone Away. I mean, and because who's gonna mosh to Gone Away?
I mean, I might. It depends on the day.
Mosh crying, my favorite pastime. Yeah. So I basically waited and excuse me through 1,000 drunken punk rockers.
And how long did this take? I'm sure that it took more than Gone Away.
Oh yeah. It was like 1.5 songs probably, and I'm pretty sure the sorry to get graphic, but it was starting to go past the bladder into other organs. Like this was like. If it was a cartoon, my bladder would have been shaking uncontrollably and bouncing off the walls, and would have anthropomorphized, gotten to face, and been like, "Why are you doing this to me?"
Close your ears, kids. You don't need to be hearing this. This is Mark After Dark.
Mommy, turn off the podcast if you're listening.
You know what's kind of perfect, though, is the fact that you chose to, well, you didn't choose to, you kind of had to leave on Gone Away.
Yeah, yeah. And at that point, like, but luckily, I finally made it to the porta potties. There was like a one-person line, and once I made it in there, it was. I was about to say it was golden. I swear that was not intended either. I'm amazing.
Wow, I'm pretty sure that you at this point in your life you live in a sea of puns. Like, I'm not convinced yet that you don't live on like Pun Street or something like that, or that you're not Punster McPunstein himself.
Yeah, whenever during breakfast, whenever I'm getting my bread, I make sure to pick up the tastiest punch street I can find
Oh.
to replenish my powers.
Sometimes I wonder how I deal with all of your puns, Mark. There was something I was going to ask you, though.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just to kind of finish this, wrap it up, I just spent the rest of the show watching from the back, and it was still great, so...
Well, that's to be... I mean, it's an Offspring show,
yeah,
of course.
I still took a couple videos while I was there of, like, short clips of songs, and I'm probably going to pepper them in to this...
Pepper them in? Pepper them in.
Ah! There we go again.
Oh, he's out of control, guys. Mark, what have you been listening to in this past month other than what you've reviewed? Because I've seen you review, like, B.O.B., what else have you covered on the channel? Neck Deep. What else have you been listening to outside of that, though? Because I know you don't just listen to what you're reviewing.
Well, I do typically... I have been reviewing most of the albums I've been listening to, and it's been mostly new albums since I've been catching up, but let me just sort my iTunes by date. Like I said, I caught up on the first Ghost album because like I said earlier, I did. Oh yeah, that collab review is of the new Ghost album,
right?
Which should be going up. It'll probably be up by the time this episode is up, since I'm editing that one at the moment. Like I said.
Right.
But it's really good.
The first one or the new one?
The first one's good, but the first one is... I mean, the new one, Meliora, is really good. I gave it like a... I was teetering on a strong 7.5, then I said, let 8.
Oh, very nice. So that scored even better than Neck Deep.
Yeah, nice transition into...
the unavoidable
subject.
The unavoidable.
The pop punk the pizza eating elephant in the room.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have to talk too much about it, but I mean,
yeah,
like
you already made a full video about it. I'll link your video on it in the description. We're just gonna touch on it for like a minute, probably literally.
Yeah, probably, because I'm interested to see from a discussion point of view, because it was just me talking to a camera there. But what are you feeling? I mean, I haven't seen anything else that's come out about the situation yet, but basically, if you guys have not heard somehow at this point, by the time you're watching or listening to this podcast, Lloyd Roberts of Neck Deep, the guitarist, and supposedly a couple of the other members were involved in some explicit photos being sent to someone who was underage at the time. They were 18 at the time, and I believe the girl in question was 15. And Lloyd Roberts has decided to step down from the band to focus on family and not tarnishing his reputation further and the reputation of the band. What do you think about the whole situation to begin with, or just in general?
Well, really, like I said, really, I mean, your video kind of captured most of my thoughts. I'm going to link that, but I don't know. I'm not really 100% either way. Like, people have been saying the evidence is a little questionable, that some stuff looks a bit altered, but at the same time, but also you got to take into account that, like, the guys in the band were like 18, 17 when it happened, and there's a bunch of ambiguity in that, like, morally, and like how our law is different in the UK than here, and and
it comes down
to it's just a bunch of gray area.
Yeah, exactly. It comes down to that, and I think that it came down to them kind of acting too quickly, if you ask me, but we'll see. We'll see if Lloyd ends up returning to the band in the future. I'd be curious to see. But for the meantime, it doesn't change the fact that I'm still really loving their album.
Yeah. I mean, I will. I mean, but I appreciate they were mature about it, and the way they put it, it doesn't sound like the label wrote it. You know,
Right.
it really feels like the band put a lot of thought into the statement they would make about it, even
Yeah.
if the family angle is a little questionable. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
yeah.
definitely sketchy.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that just for the sake of the band's reputation, and I hate to come off like businessy and markety, but really for the sake of the band's reputation and image and all that, it probably was for the best, honestly. Even though, just from my own musician empathy, if this is all like accusations and it's all false and stuff, then I feel terrible
Yeah.
for Lloyd and whoever else is involved in this.
Yeah. I don't doubt that it's true though, because stuff like that. I mean, it happens. I dare say it's very normal these days. Not that it's necessarily right, but it's extremely normal, and it's not even illegal. From there's a legal standpoint to it. It's not legal. It's just kind of, like you said, gray area. But you know, there's only so much that can really be said. I'm just waiting for more information to come out because I'm hoping that we get our hands on that.
Yeah, yeah. So what's been going on for you lately? You got any cool music related stories or anything that have been happening in your world since the last episode?
Well, the main thing that's happened to me, unfortunately, I have not been to any shows, mainly because I've had zero time. Right now, I've mainly been spending my time between, of course, ARTV, which I will get to. I've got something interesting to say about that in just a second. But between that and my other job, it's just kind of stretched me kind of thin right now. But I am actually, I think me and my buddy are buying tickets to the upcoming Shinedown tour that's passing
Oh,
through not too far from here. We're planning on hitting that show. It's coming through Virginia, but surprisingly, the Virginia show is closer than the North Carolina one. The North Carolina one is at like the coast or near it, so I'm probably going to be going to Virginia about 2 months from now to see Shinedown with Breaking Benjamin and somebody else that I think are pretty well known. But I'm mainly going. I'm excited to see Shinedown, honestly, because I've been a fan of a good chunk of their stuff.
yeah. Let me ask. Are you interested in covering their new album once it comes out? I'm interested. Even though that first single, like, it was good, but it wasn't like one of their best, in my
Uh,
opinion.
yeah, I'm definitely going to be covering it. I covered Amaryllis, and I will probably do a throwback on Us and Them before the record comes out, either that or Leave a Whisper, because Shinedown's probably easily my favorite mainstream rock band. They've been pretty consistent through the years. I would probably rate all of their albums at least a 3 out of 5, or if not higher, probably 3.5 or better. And that's saying something for a band that stayed in the mainstream rock game for as long as they have. I did not like Cut the Cord that much, but then again, tracks like The Sound of Madness, the title track from that 2008 album, grew on me over time. And Black Cadillac, the second song that we got from this new album, fantastic. Love that
Oh,
song. Love it,
oh,
love it, love it, love it. Yeah,
I haven't heard that one.
it's
But
kind of a
yeah.
throwback.
Oh, cool. You mean like throwback to like their earlier stuff, or throwback like to like older classic rock stuff?
Oh no, well, I mean, maybe in a sense, a little bit. You could hear a little bit of classic rock, but I definitely hear more of like Leave a Whisper in there, like their 2003 album.
Okay.
So in a way, it's nice to see them exploring their roots.
Yeah. Honestly, it's probably an unpopular opinion, but I actually like their last two albums more than their first two. Even though their first two are good, they're good. But I feel like
Yeah,
they are kind of their time in terms of
yeah,
that mid 2000s, like on an objective level, radio rock kind of sound.
right.
Whereas, like, I feel like the Sound of Madness and especially Amaryllis, which I think is really underrated. There's a
Hmm.
bit more going on with them. Obviously, I'll talk about it more in the review. Like, I don't want this podcast to be just like a bunch of mini reviews of artists and stuff.
It'll be interesting to see what they deliver on this new album, though. I'm definitely excited for it. But
Yeah.
what I was gonna say though with ARTV, I think I was talking to you not too long ago. I was telling you I went on a crazy like streak of just putting out reviews, and it was weird. I got into this
Mm.
weird groove where I was I don't know, I was really feeling it. You know, like sometimes if you're doing a review, you might almost feel like you're forcing yourself to do it, and you don't ever want to be in that point, because then it kind of bleeds. You can tell, you know, like your viewers will be able to tell whenever you watch it that you weren't exactly on your game that day or something like that, or you might like, I don't know, be really tired and decide to film anyways. And not that I've never done that before, but I got on this and I released a review 9 days in a row. I don't know what happened. I don't know what got into me. Like, what's a possible explanation for that? Because that's
You have a problem. You're hurting your friends and family. Like, your 7 kids are just, they're hungry. They need daddy.
They need daddy's just trying to put food on the table.
AdSense doesn't put food on the table. It puts crumbs.
It's starting to put
Crumbs
food on the table.
can't sustain us, daddy.
Crumbs, you know what? Crumbs are kind of criminally underrated. They're kind of like that Amaryllis album we were just talking about. Underrated isn't always bad.
Yeah.
But it was a weird creative. Well, I don't want to say creative, but I mean, I guess it was just really easy for me. Times whenever you write a review, because I know you'll like either at the very least outline your reviews, if not write them out. But you know when it's really easy to write them out sometimes, and it just kind of flows out of you.
Yeah, that one time when I listened to that Robin Thicke album, and without writing a single word, I had 13 minutes of content.
Yeah, exactly. I've done that before with a review. I think Ghost Stories by Coldplay is the last time that I remember going into something with no notes whatsoever, and I came out with an 8-minute video that was surprisingly cohesive and kind of in somewhat of an order that I usually stick to. I don't know how that happened, but I don't know. I was kind of proud of that review, and I'm sure you're really proud of your Robin Thicke one just because it came from a really, really something that you really felt strongly about, right?
Yeah, and that's to date like the only time, aside from maybe the first review I ever did on this channel, the Switchfoot one, where I've not had a single word typed in advance. And actually, going back to Neck Deep, this Neck Deep review is my first attempt at just taking my rough notes and just kind of going off that and seeing how it works, and I think it worked pretty well at the end of the day.
Nice. Yeah, I noticed that too. I think you might not have even mentioned it. Did you put something in the description of the video about it being kind of off the cuff, or did you mention that to me?
It was like a little text thing on screen when I was a little stuttery.
Yeah, that's what it was. I remember you saying that, and I believe I messaged you and told you that was a really strong review.
I was really proud of that one.
That's kind of how I felt about my latest Owl City review that I did. That one, I wrote that. It was a almost 10-minute video, I believe, and I wrote that in 15 minutes. I don't even know how that happened, but I wrote it just my keyboard was moving just rapid fire like a machine gun, and then I just went and recorded it just right then and there because I knew I had the passion for what I wanted to say, and I didn't want to lose that. It's probably like how an artist feels whenever they're in the studio and feeling really creative. You got to put the pen to paper. You got to get in there and record it before you lose it.
Yeah, and funny thing, going back to Owl City one, that's probably the one that kicked off me not always relying on word for word, because I had a word for word, track by track review written completely, and then something happened, I forget what, and it was all gone. Just because I wrote mine extremely quickly too, because obviously there's not much substance on that album to write about, even though the video ended up being about 13 minutes anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So this review, it ended up being gone from my computer, and I just ended up having to go off of memory.
Ooh.
For it, and luckily I managed to recover most of my thoughts. I got basically all my points done, but yeah, that ended up being a tough one to film.
That's a true test of yourself, because sometimes I find myself panicking without I'll at least type out bullet points you know, for pretty much everything that I want to say, or I might have like a certain like adjective or word that I know that I wanted to use to get it like drive a point home. But I've been in your situation before where I've like before I started using like Google Docs to like hold everything whenever I was typing stuff up on like either like Notepad or Word, like Microsoft Word or something like that. I lost everything, and I would be like, "There's no way that I can remember every little word that I use to describe something," and it's just kind of disheartening. But sometimes it drives you even more to like push yourself to put out something even better than what you wrote the first time. You know?
Yeah, I guess. And I think there's been a time when that happened before, and I just ended up writing it again, and it ended up being a bit better. So yeah, like you said. Now I do want to transition real quick to
Mm-hmm.
one viewer question, because I do want this podcast to be a bit more free flowing, but at the same time, there was one question that I got. And it was from a guy that we both know, Jeff Emerson.
Oh, okay. What did
Yeah,
Jeff have to ask? Because I don't.
yeah.
I honestly have not, guys. I have not heard what this comment is or what this question is. I haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet.
It,
So
it
let's
was
hear
yeah,
it.
yeah, it was left on the last episode of Mad Sounds, and he said this one's mainly for Mark, but I'll allow you to to get involved.
Oh.
Um, I I'm currently in the middle of a Red Hot Chili Peppers high, and I was recently checking out some of their older more obscure work, like their '80s albums, and I saw comments on your old account there that date back 4 to 5 years. Oh
Ooh.
man,
Cringe.
cringe, cringe.
So
It's like a miracle anytime I find an old comment of mine from like before 2013 that's not absolute garbage.
it's one of those times to celebrate.
Yeah. And you were claiming that their entire discography was solid throughout. So my question to you is, what are your thoughts? Oh, by the way, man, you're putting in so many unnecessary apostrophes. Just
Yes. On
D
every word that
minus
has
C
an
after
S.
class.
2 out of 10 for that comment. Grammatical errors.
Yeah. So my question to you is, what are your thoughts on their discography in general? Also, what's the benefit of going through a large discography of a band?
Okay. So you start this one off, Mark, since this was directed at you.
Yeah. Well, I haven't really revisited that many Red Hot Chili Peppers albums in a while.
I haven't either. I really haven't.
Yeah, but I have heard almost all of them in full at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I like all, and the only ones I haven't heard in full are One Hot Minute and their first album. Um,
So you've heard the Uplift Mofo Party Plan?
of course.
Okay, I was just checking. I feel like a lot
Yeah.
of people have not heard that one.
Well, yeah. I mean, it kind of got like a cult success to it, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
like it was their last one before Mother's Milk, and they started breaking through. But anyway,
You haven't heard One Hot Minute though?
not in full, no.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
I
So
mean, I got the CD from a friend recently, so I'm probably gonna check it out at some point. But
nice. Nice.
but anyway, I think all their albums that I've heard are really, really good. People kind of think they've died down over time, but I feel like it's just because they want that funk, punk, like rap kind of thing on every single song. But really, it kind of would sounded stupid if like at the time they put out "I'm With You," they were still trying to replicate Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
People would be laughing in their faces if they were doing that.
Exactly, and I kind of like that they do kind of go for a more mellow thing. Are they doing it for radio success? I don't know. But the bottom line is, I still think that the quality is still there. Um, and though I will say, Stadium Arcadium is like one of those double albums that did not need to be a double album.
No, it could. You could. I could easily. I listened to that album about a month ago. That's the most recent Chili Peppers album that I've heard, and I listened to that thing in full. And damn it, it is a long listen, man. You really got to dedicate some time to get through that thing. I could easily
Yeah.
cherry pick off songs and make them one cohesive album, borrowing tracks from part one and part two.
Yeah, and it's not even like it's two like 10-track albums with like each one has like a certain sound or theme to it. It's like
No.
18 tracks on each disc.
And it just, yeah, and like you said, it's not one specific, like, the Foo Fighters, they did it with In Your Honor. You got the acoustic
Yeah.
songs and your ones where they're plugged in, but this is just a bunch of songs.
Yeah, I mean, and even with that, like, I could like take the songs that I like and fit it onto one like 14 song album. But even then, I get why they did the double album, and I can respect that.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah, I think their discography is really consistently solid in general. And as for the more broad question of what are the
Hmm.
benefits of going through large discography of a band, I mean, going to you, John, have there been any recent examples where like a band has had like a 10 plus album discography and you went in a mad rush to catch up?
10 plus? No. Can I cheat a little bit and go a little bit lower than that?
I will allow it.
Yeah, because I haven't. It's been a while since I've been through one that's got like 10
It's
plus.
very
But
long. I had to. I'm sorry. It's gonna happen
it's
every
gonna.
single time.
Okay. Uh huh. Uh huh. Okay, so I went through recently. I think it was last month that the Chemical Brothers dropped their eighth studio album, and it wasn't a mad rush because I knew it was coming. So I knew I was gonna dedicate some time because that was one discography that I felt it was important that I catch up on. And I could say, I think I might not have said it actually. I think I might have thought about posting something about it on Facebook, but I don't think I actually did. Um, it was really rewarding. I think I actually did say that in my review of Born in the Echoes, but it was really what's interesting about going through someone with a huge discography, or not huge, but just anything I say over 5 albums is still a huge part of your day that you're going to have to dedicate, or a good chunk of your time you're going to have to dedicate to going through something. But the best part about it for me was just seeing where their influences have taken them through the years and how they've never made the same album twice. And it's interesting to see, on one album, they might like lay a few building blocks down. They might do something a few times, and then they come back with an album 2 years later, and it's like they've gone full blown in this poppier or else darker direction or something like that. And then it's nice to see, in terms of the Chemical Brothers, you saw them stripping away the vocal guest, bringing them back, starting with basically nothing but each other, producing everything themselves, writing the songs themselves, and just making grimy, dark dance music, industrial music to an extent in some ways. But I think the best part about going through a discography is just to see that even through the years, while a lot of things will change, and I'm not. This is for at least duos or bands that have had a solid, not revolving door lineup style. But I think the best part is just seeing how they still are themselves at the end of the day, even like 20 years later or 30 years later or whatever it is. They're still themselves, even though a lot of things have changed and they've tried a lot of different new and different things. It's still exciting to see that they've still got their spirit that started them in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that one thing that I kind of do each year, I found that like once a year since at least like 2013, maybe earlier than that too. There's one popular artist that whose discography I've just kind of listened to parts of but never really delved into. And then when they're putting out their new album, I decided, screw it, I'm going to listen to their whole discography before doing a review of this album, just so I can get the right context.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2013, I did that with Kanye West. Yeezy
Fun listen.
himself. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I'd never heard any of his albums in full. And honestly, I was still in that bandwagon camp of, oh, he has an ego, so therefore he's not talented. Which, by the way, if you think that makes no zero logical sense at all. I mean, you can not like him, but if it's just because of his personal life, then really. But anyway, I
Yeah.
digress. So I went in with cynical ears to I decided to go chronologically. I got all his albums from the library. I started fairly cynically from the College Dropout, and I loved that album.
Fantastic
And I
album.
just kind of want, and now I kind of started taking like what I've heard people say about like how he's changed from album to album a bit more seriously. So then I listened to Late Registration, Graduation, really got into those. But then 808s and Heartbreak came in, and I was like, what is this? And
I've
it's
been
kind of
loving you.
Hey, that's actually a pretty good song. But where I'm going with that is that it's so interesting getting it like basically all at once instead of like over the course of years, like most people who are fans of
Mm-hmm.
this artist would do. Just because you really get more of the effect of that evolution because you're going straight from that to the next. And same thing from going from 808s to like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and then going from that to Yeezus.
Right.
Or actually, no, more like going from... Actually, no, it wasn't really as much of a jarring thing because I went from that to Watch the Throne and then that to Yeezus. And you can say it's sort of a middle ground, but...
I
And
think,
then the next year... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I think that going through Kanye's West is is that even the correct? Kanye West's discography is always a good time. Like it's been a little bit since I did it, but I'm definitely gonna be doing it before Swish drops.
Yeah. If that's still the name of it.
Yeah.
But... Yeah. But then the next year in 2014, I did that with the Black Keys because obviously I'd heard a couple of their songs. I mean I heard a couple of their albums before that. I mean I'd been a fan of like Attack and Release, and El Camino for a few years. But I figured, you know what, I'm gonna listen to their stuff just because the singles they've been putting out lately had been polarizing people so much. They've been like, oh, you should be sounding like Rubber Factory and The Big Come Up again. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll listen to these albums just so I can review it with the right context and stuff. And funny thing, it's kind of being unlike the opposite of when I listened to College Dropout. I was like, yeah, this is a step down. I think the Black Keys' first two albums are by far their least interesting.
It's guitar and drums, and that's like.
I mean, and that can work, but it's like they just
But-
didn't really have like the songwriting or the production to back that up.
It was so basic, you know.
And you
I'm
could
with you.
hear that it was just two people. It kind of felt like just like this empty jam session with some exceptions. Whereas with Rubber Factory, I'll give it that. Out of those like earlier albums, like if you're gonna say I like harder stuff, so I want them to go back to this, then that's the album that you probably want to be referring to.
Right.
Then I listened to Brothers, and that was a lot more downtrodden and mellow and stuff. And yeah, again, it was interesting seeing like their evolution just over the course of a few days.
Yeah, it's definitely. I'd never really thought of it that way before. Just seeing something in the course of a few days when compared to maybe 10 or 20 years, like a lot of people have had to wait for. But then again, I've had to play catch up so many times. I guess that's why I never thought about it. I always thought, oh, this is normal. But to think that maybe somebody was following the Black Keys or the Chemical Brothers from the very start, and I'm coming in 15, 20 years later or something, and then listening to them within the course of a day or two. It's just weird that we've got all that. We've got it all at our fingertips there. We've haven't had to wait 5 years in between albums or anything like that.
Yeah. Now there's one more element to this I wanted to get to, and then maybe one more topic, and then we'll close it out. I want to ask. Oh yeah. How would you typically go about catching up on an artist's work? Would you go by like their most critically acclaimed album, or would you go chronologically?
Chronologically, man. If I'm doing it, I gotta go from the start. I mean, not to say that I've never done it. Okay, I shouldn't say I gotta go from the start, but I have. Generally, it's been my rule of thumb that if I'm gonna go through something, I'm gonna try my best to start at the beginning and kind of work my way forward. But there have been times where I've been like, okay, you know what? This album has gotten so much attention from this reviewer or this publication or something like that I have to check out this one first. And for me, like we're just talking about Kanye West, everybody at the time, like my friends and that sort of thing, we're talking about Late Registration by Kanye West. That was, for some reason, the album that was on the table. So that was where I started with Kanye in terms of full lengths. After, weirdly, 808s and Heartbreak being my first full-length album.
Wow.
Yeah. Weird start.
Yeah. Okay. So going back from this, because I know you have to go soon. One quick thing. The thing that we talked about in the last episode when I was there, one of the videos I recorded with you was an episode of your series 7 on Sunday, where we talked about our music pet peeves. Now, right after I left, both you and I started sprouting off random messages about, oh crap, I forgot this. Real quick, just like listing them off, saying like a couple sentences for each of them. Is there like 2 or 3 other pet peeves that you completely forgotten about that you kind of want to get out there into the internet ether?
Oh man, you put me on the spot here because it's the same thing that happened whenever we filmed 7 on Sunday. I froze up and forgot. Oh, I think this is one that we both agreed on. I did remember this one, so maybe this is a good one. Whenever artists put some of the best songs on the deluxe edition of the album and put lackluster tracks as like filler content on the standard edition.
Well, you mentioned that, and I feel like I just kind of brushed that off because that's something that's subjective, and maybe the artists themselves didn't think it was the best.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Okay. Well,
I mean, granted, there are some exceptions where the album is a complete sellout, but like some experimental stuff's on the deluxe edition. But anyway, personally, a couple for me are the Talkin stripped down song on an album where there's like no songwriting on it whatsoever that's interesting. It's just like, oh, we have to have something that's acoustic or something that's driven by like a keyboard or with a piano.
December neck deep.
Yeah, I mean, I like that song, but I'm actually, if anything, for Neck Deep, I'd refer to A Part of Me, for that. Yeah, and also whenever someone uses the word strife in lyrics, because hear me out, I think it should be banned because it gives hacks and just a lazy word to rhyme with life.
Do you have an example of this that you'd like to share with
It's
the class?
I would rather not, but we both know what I'm referring to.
Well then. I'm over here trying to like desperately think of a musical pet peeve because I know I messaged you a couple of them, but they have long disappeared from my train of thought and my feed of messages.
Well, I mean, I know you have to go soon, so maybe we'll talk about it more in the next episode.
I was going to say, let us know if you would like to see us discuss pet peeves.
Ooh, interaction with the fans.
Yeah, I would like to see some comments. If you've stuck till the very end, boys and girls, we would like to see some comments down below letting us know if you would like to see us talk full on, not an entire episode, of course, but maybe a little segment where we talk about more of our musical pet peeves that we just didn't get to for some reason or just slipped our minds.
Yeah. Or heck, maybe we can make it into a regular segment, sort of our version of You Know What Grinds My Gears.
You know what really grinds my gears? When people have pet peeves.
Yeah. Oh, and one more quick thing that's like 10 seconds that I gotta mention. Awolnation's run is like a Vine meme now.
Why you had to bring that into my life? You had to ruin that for me. You had to ruin.
I mean, I wanted them to make a comeback, but not like this. It's basically, it's like on the same level as Watch Me Now, and I don't like that.
It's like Mark. This is like cutting a giant fart and then leaving the room. That's how you're ending this podcast. That's how we're gonna remember you. A giant fart. Goodbye, big fart.
2 Family Guy references in 3 minutes, of course, where freaking white guys in our teens and 20s.
Whoa. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Mad Sounds. Of course, I'm John. You can find me linked in the description down below if you have not checked out my channel, or if you're over here, if I've sent you here from one of my future videos, then make sure you subscribe here to Spinner Reviews, because Mark's doing stuff every single week, pretty much.
Y'all know it, although I just started a new semester today, so
Mark,
things could get a bit less prolific.
Mark, we're trying to get him to subscribe to your channel.
No, but see, I'm humanizing myself.
Oh, okay.
People like someone that's human, and not this mechanical machine pumping out 9 videos a day or whatever you said.
9 days straight, not 9 a day. Think I'm crazy?
Hey, but yeah, that's about it. Leave your questions in the comments, any feedback you might have, and until then, we'll see you on the next episode of
Mad Sounds.
We'll work on that.